Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome. I am Matt with K15T, and we are here today live to create your Confluence automations. That's right. We would like to take this opportunity while we are live and ready to do great things together and maybe make some fun mistakes together to build some stuff. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. The reason I mentioned it's live is because you can jump into the live chat right now. You can see Mixmaster Stefan is live in the chat. He's going to be helping me as we try to keep track of all your great thoughts and ideas. And one important thing I want to point out is that you should use the hashtag automate this. Hashtag automate this and throw in your idea for an automation you'd like to see us build here today. That would be really helpful because we want to build stuff, but also we don't want it to get lost in the chat. So please throw that hashtag on, automate this so that people can, or that we can find your automation in the midst of all the fun things. Hello, my friend who just jumped in. Hi, it's nice to see you. Yes, we are live. We are live. Now, the nice thing here is based on your feedback, today is not just Matt talking about automation again. We already did that 2 months ago. You're probably like, why is he doing this again? It's different this time because based on your request, we are joined live by none other than Avi from Atlassian. Avi is the PM for Confluence Automation. Hi, Avi. Nice to have you here.
Hey, it's great to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are.
Hey, Avi and I are both on the East Coast, so we're enjoying some nice mid-morning energy right now, or mid-morning nervousness. And I'm drinking some more mid-morning nervousness, actually. So cool, good. Just want to check, is the live stream looking good to everyone? YouTube is saying, oh no, this is too high resolution for me. And I'm like, come on, YouTube, you can do it. Let me know if anything's looking problematic. So Avi is going to be doing whatever we tell him to do, which is really great. So he totally signed up for this. And so, I don't like the term guinea pig and I don't like the term dog fooding either in product, but so I told Avi that we're test piloting something. We want to make sure the doors don't fly off this thing. So let's see what happens. So I thought as y'all are coming up with some ideas of things you'd like to have built, I thought we could start off by by talking about some very recent news for automation, and that is around smart buttons. Smart buttons were just announced last week, I think, on the community, maybe the week prior. But Avi, I'd love to know what's going on with smart buttons, and if you want to show us some things, we would love to see that.
Yeah, sure. So we officially completed rolling out smart buttons just a few weeks ago. And side tangent about the dog fooding term, I agree with you. I once worked with somebody who called it drinking your own champagne, which I thought was a really nice alternative.
Much more elegant.
Anyways, back to smart buttons. So yeah, it's available to 100% of premium and enterprise customers like the rest of automation. A little bit around the kind of motivation or why we built this is essentially we've been hearing for a long time from customers, especially admins, as they grow and scale, that the work between what they need to do to keep content fresh and work moving forward is inseparable from the work that their users need to do, meaning none of it happens in a vacuum. It's a virtuous cycle. And having a connective tissue that allows end users to actually use automation in a more personal way not only allows more people to kind of leverage the time-saving aspect of automation, but it also allows for a better connection between admins and their users, where admins can more effectively, instead of centralizing a lot of things around managing spaces or sites, can actually delegate or basically democratize all these different concepts. So it can save time for them and also can empower everybody to save time for themselves. So that's kind of like the why behind smart buttons.
I kind of was hoping you were going to use the word democratize because that was my immediate thought. So as a previous Confluence admin, my first reaction to these were, yes, just yes, take it out of my hands, give it to the people, please give them all the power, because automations are great, but the idea that especially this part of the UI here, where they have a pre-selected amount of things they can do with smart buttons. Like they don't have access to every automation you've ever built as of yet. But the fact that they can pick one and then easily configure it in this part of the UI is just really stellar, and I'm really excited about that. Stefan and I were talking about recently how we do a lot of cool things with automation at K15T, but it's really hard to like the discovery side of things, and also like convincing our colleagues like, hey, yeah, you can do powerful stuff, but also it's pretty easy to do. So I feel like this is a really good way to be like, no, this is super easy to do.
Yeah, totally agree. Like democratization has been like our entire theme for this thing. So 100%. I'm happy to do a quick little demo, like just end to end of inserting a smart button, then actually showing like one of the more important factors we wanted to make sure that we account for from day one is admin control and visibility. Because like we said, we don't want this to be that something that people create, admins have no visibility, and then all of a sudden like it's just crazy and uncontrollable. So to make sure that it scales. And also I can give you a sneak peek into more templates, more actions, and things that we're building that are going to be coming soon in smart buttons.
I think I can speak for everyone in the chat that we are not interested in seeing a live demo, and we don't want to have a sneak peek of anything. No, I'm just kidding. Please do show us, Avi. And hi, friend in Brazil. Thanks for joining, everybody. Hey, Andrew. Good to see you. Hey, Liz. Oh, it's so nice to see everybody in the chat. And have you seen any interesting use cases for smart buttons? There's a question for you, Avi. I'm betting you probably can speak to that as you're showing us smart buttons. So
yep,
give us a demo.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So I'll start from basically like inserting it into a page, how admins can see it, and then eventually also like how admins can seed it and things that we're going to be doing to help with its discoverability across the board so admins don't have all the burden on them. But essentially, if I create a brand new page, and I don't know, I'll just call this page Avi's amazing page, then all I have to do is I'll either type in smart button, or more intuitively, I can type in automation. That type ahead will also work. And you can also insert it from the insert menu. So anything, basically just like a macro status or anything like that.
I love that.
So typing in automation. Yep. The idea is for it to feel as lightweight as adding a status to a page. So we'll go ahead. We'll add the new smart button. And as you can see, we started off with templates and being very transparent. There's going to be an evolution of how much of the rule builder we end up exposing to all users. The idea is to start with something as opposed to wait for the perfect thing, in another year and provide value today. So the idea here is starting with a set amount of templates, which actually correspond to some of the key use cases based on how people use automation today, based on how people use manual triggers today. And we actually see that a lot of the use cases really go back to things like people who need approval, people who want to kick off a review, or maybe you want to kind of bundle like a project or something that's going through like a next step, and you basically want to just kick off those next steps with the click of a button. So an example we can do really quickly here is around changing a page's status and sending an email. So that could be is I've created my page, maybe it's a product requirements page, and I want a button at the top of the product requirements page that once I'm done as the PM, I want to change it to ready for review or even verified, and send an email to the dev team so they can know to take a look at it. So instead of me having to do those actions on my own, crafting the email, all those different things. So this could be like approve PRD, and then I can choose the status. So I'll say ready for review. And then here I can just do, I don't know, maybe I'll make up an email, or I can just send it to myself for the example. And then the cool thing is like this will support smart values, just like you can in the editor.
Very nice.
Yeah, so you can use all of your dynamic things which you need to use in automation. But in here it could be as like PRD is ready for review. And here I can even do it with the smart value. But for example, it would be as like this, like maybe like, if I'm getting it right, author name or something like that. Please have a look at like page. Sorry, I can't spell.
Avi handwriting smart values as we're doing this live. This is impressive. This is the Olympics right here. Thank you for joining us.
It's all good. These are the only ones I know. I'm kidding.
We have a panel of three
But
judges who will be judging your work at the end of this.
so essentially, once I have this, what I can do is I can save the button, and now it's saved in edit mode. By the way, we're also working on having support for live pages. So very soon you'll be able to actually execute them from a live page as well. You still can't, but that's coming. So once I publish my page, what we'll see really quickly is I won't show you the email because my email is just a mess. But the cool thing is this exists within the page. I can place the smart button anywhere in the page. I can nest it inside a macro, a table, an
Ooh.
expand, anything you can think of. So it's very flexible. And when you hover over, you'll actually get a pretty useful preview, which we're going to continue on expanding on. It'll just explain that what's going to happen when this button is clicked. It's going to change the status, send an email, and once I click, I can get an indication that it's in progress. If I just refresh the page really quickly, I can see my page is now ready for review, and you're just going to have to believe me that it sent an email. I'm going to spare you my email. But the cool thing is, once this was created, again, sorry, that's my crazy content tree, as the admin, so that I'm not so that I'm not unaware of what's happening. If I go into rules, and this is also a little bit of a mess, but any smart button that's added, so basically we can look for the one that I just added, which should have been today, a minute ago. Here we go. So you can see change page status and send email. It just kind of explains what it's doing. It automatically adds a system label, so I know that it's a smart button. I can actually see which user created it. And if I want to, I can disable it. And then in the editor or in the page, it'll appear disabled, and there will be a tooltip letting people know that the admin disabled it. So everybody's aware of the connection between the two. And to make sure that nothing destructive can happen, admins can see the rule that was created, but for the benefit of the user who created it, the admin can't make any changes to it. They can basically disable it or delete it, and then that gets reflected back in the page.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. And all of the people who are like, but how do I audit it? They rejoice because. So I want to know, Avi. So I'm going to do a quick follow-up question, and then we need to automate something because someone has suggested something.
Yeah.
How close are we to being able to get rid of the create from template button macro? Because like it's so close. It's so close that it can create a page with a specific template. Like how long before I can like insert page template variables using one of these, because then like I could never use that macro again and be super happy.
So effectively, it does that. So again, like if I go to a page and if I add the smart button again, and if you go to one of the like publish a new page and add a label, then you'll actually see that I can choose in which space I want it to be created. Sorry, it's just
Yes.
loading. So, well, I don't know why I don't have a space here. I can select the parent page. I can enter the page title. I can even select the template space. So this effectively does everything that the create from page template macro does and more. So yeah, you can definitely start using this instead.
Oof. I like this. I really like the sound of that. That one has been around for a while, and yeah, as soon as I saw this, I was like, okay, this replaces this. All right, Avi, we have a request for an automation. Are you ready? I don't know if you need to like crack your fingers or anything like that, but it's time. So we have a request from the user is not meant to be unalive yet. If a Confluence page has no label when it's created, add a label, e.g. the label no dash label.
Got it. So what we could do, for example, is we can try using AI to see if we can maybe spin up a rule creatively, and then kind of generally play around with it. So let's try and say that when a page has no label, then add a label called, what was the name of the label?
No dash label.
No dash label. Let's see what AI comes up with really quickly. This is a great way to like, if you don't want to try and figure out things around how to build a rule, AI is a nice way to kind of get a draft and then you can play around with it. In this case, AI did a pretty good rule. So every time a page is published, it's going to use the CQL condition, looking to see if label is empty. And then it's basically going to add a label called no label. So that worked.
That's pretty awesome. AI is powerful for not just building automation rules, but also for detecting when a page or a label should be added.
Correct. So there's a couple of cool things that we can do with AI. Let's say we wanted to expand on this rule a little bit more. And let's say instead of just a label, we wanted to build the condition and the label based on AI components. So what I would do here is instead of the CQL condition, we could actually add an AI condition. I'm just going to remove this one for a sec. Now, what the AI condition knows how to do is it knows how to infer information from either the content body or the content title. So in this case, what we can do is look at the content body. Let's say we want something a little bit more robust. And we want it to look for something that's related to, let's say, a product launch, but not specifically. It's going to infer that that page is talking about a product launch. And then we want to add a label to call it product-launch. So what we can do instead of the add label is I can remove this one and I can add an action in the AI category. And we have an add label with AI. So what we can do here is say like, look only for the best match or all matching labels and add a smart label to basically say, select or add certain labels. So what I could do here is I could, let's say, add a label called product-launch. Just give it a quick second. Live demos. Labels are always a little slow. There we go.
You're so brave to do this.
And then we can basically like say, does the title relate? Does the body and the title? So we're going to choose these. And then we can actually give the AI a prompt and say something like, usually a product launch page talks about strategy and timelines and new product features. And then essentially what's going to happen is once I add this and start running this rule, if the page is related to product launch, the AI label is also going to look for certain information and then make sure to add the correct label based on if AI finds that match.
I just love this. So as a content creator, for a long time now, there have been so many things that content creators, professionals have done manually that are just ridiculous, like mind-numbing things. Like I've heard from administrators who straight up they set up manual notifications to be notified every time a new page is added in a space, so they can make sure that it has the right label or labels. And to know that not only can we use AI to build an automation to automatically add a label, but we can also use AI to create to automatically add the label that makes sense is just like, I just love it so much. It like fills me with joy. That is, if you are using Confluence or if you are using Atlassian Assistant in Confluence. If you're not, you don't get some of these fun things. But I understand there's different teams with different needs and different requirements around AI. We're all still learning what we trust our friends at OpenAI with as far as data goes. I get it, everybody. Okay, we have another automation request. And actually this one, Avi, I'm going to kind of group this because Lance is back in the chat. Hey, Lance, it's great to see you. Lance is asking another question about an integration with an app. So Lance wants to know if you can generate a PDF of a page using a specific template in Scroll PDF Exporter. And just to kind of group this in with other questions we got last live stream, we have a couple of questions on integrations with automation and third or apps from the marketplace. Another app that was mentioned is Tempo. That's actually a Jira app. So, question on integration in Jira, but also Kamala document management, which is a content management workflow app. So there's a lot of curiosity here, Avi, on marketplace apps. And, I mean, I have a bit of an interest there myself. It'd be pretty cool if we could, use our marketplace apps alongside automation. So do you have any information for us?
Yeah. There's short term and then there's longer term. So I think short term where we're still at with marketplace apps, which is like absolutely extremely valid use case. The best tool that we still have today in automation, to be flexible enough, but again, it's not necessarily tailored enough, is the trigger and action of basically like a webhook, which is probably the best way to go about that. Not the most intuitive, and definitely more of a power user feature for sure. Moving forward, because we're aware that in general, like when it comes to marketplace apps and third-party apps also for that matter, it's a big area of focus for us in the upcoming year. And those are two areas that we have very specific, strong points of view on what we need to be building. And those are going to be coming later this year. And they're considered to be like one of our more important strategic themes to unlock, because to the point of like all these questions and the theme, like a lot of people are asking for them. And if I expand it, like a lot of people are interested in our first party integrations, primarily Jira. So a sneak peek as I speak is we're going to be adding a Jira trigger to automation for Confluence to kind of close the loop. And then there's this concept of enriching anything that we have from like a second and third party integration perspective later this year.
Okay, a trigger from Jira sounds very interesting. The things I could do. I used to be a Jira admin at one point, and then they threw me out when I broke all of the things so many times. That's how, from what I understand, that's how you learn how to use Jira, actually. You have to break everybody in the company's project at least once, and then you get your certification.
100%. The only way.
So I'm curious, before we go to another automation, because I'm sorry, Lance, we don't have an automation to build for you. But I was kind of curious a little bit here, Avi, because another new thing that just came out for the automation platform are system rules, which do not seem that cool. I'll be honest, they don't seem that cool at first glance. Like when I read it, I was like, oh, okay, so the team can send out automation rules that they configure what logical elements are in there, and then the people who set them up in a space can just kind of like, they can configure the logic for each step. But I'm just like, how is this helpful? But then I started to have some thoughts on that. So I was curious, could you speak really quickly to system rules, what, the value you feel they add, and what you see system rules doing for everybody in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really valid point. So the rationale behind system rules is it kind of caters to the overall issue where, in general, automation till now has been one, available only to admins, so democratization is a big piece. And the other piece, and like another one of the reasons why we built the AI rule builder, was automation, even though being low code, no code, can still feel a little scary to folks who may not feel as technical, or maybe you're not sure where to start. And sometimes you're not even really sure that, how to approach automations, and even templates or AI may not be like the best way for you to start. And one of the use cases, or like the primary use cases that is ends up getting used or talked about, is this concept, of content not being fresh and just knowing about it, and then figuring out that you can save a lot of time by using automations. So instead of asking people to learn a new thing, go to automation, one of the biggest points behind automation is we view it more as a contextual experience that meets you where you are. Even though a hub is still like very much needed, we're making it more and more contextualized. So the idea behind system rules is take that main use case, which is like a great way to discover the power of automation and save time for you and your team. And as soon as you set up a new space, automation has a system rule, which, by the way, doesn't count towards any kind of usage limits. And it'll actually start looking for pages that are inactive. And then it'll send the admin an email notification. So it won't do anything destructive. It won't take any action on anybody's behalf. But it's just a matter of awareness of bringing that information proactively to an admin saying, hey, you've got a bunch of pages that are inactive. Maybe you want to review them. But also, that notification contains a link so they can quickly set up a rule to do the same kind of triggering logic where the action is just, oh, do you want to automatically archive these things? And we felt that could be a way where you don't have to do anything, where automation comes to you and then you decide how you want to act on it.
This is super cool. And like immediate thought, I'm going to give 2 immediate thoughts and then we have to go to another automation because we have so many good ones. As a Confluence admin, if I work in a large organization where every space we have a similar type of automation that should run, I would love to be able to create a system rule that I allow everybody to set up in their space and configure how they want, but it still follows our known process. That would be so great, especially if I have, I don't know, a ISO standard that I have to follow around archival or content review, knowing that every space will follow that logic. That would be powerful. And then also, as a company that makes Confluence apps, that automates stuff, wouldn't it be so cool if I could ship all those automations that right now are running in the background as code, ship them as packaged system rules so that people could set up our apps and just change things in the rule builder to modify the logic the way they want? Could be pretty cool, Avi. I don't know if you're writing this stuff down, but you might want to. All right, we're going to jump over to someone's automation request. Shameless plug. So George has asked if we could create an automation to archive all spaces and pages that were not accessed during the past 3 months. Archive all
for sure.
spaces and pages that were not accessed in the last 3 months.
Alrighty, we can definitely build that. And just on the custom templates piece, one of the roadmap items that we have for later this year is the ability to save a rule as a template and then make that shareable. So I think that's kind of the direction that you're talking about. So fingers crossed.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice.
All right. So going to the rule, essentially in this case, what we would do, I'll focus on pages first. So we'd use a schedule trigger. And essentially what we'd want to do is, let's say we want to review this thing once, do it once a week. Let's do it once a month. If we're going to do something every 3 months. So what we can do here is we can add a branch. And in this branch, what we can do is use the for each inactive page. And essentially what we can do here is schedule that logic that was just mentioned and say perform actions or conditions on pages which are considered inactive. Inactive means that there's been no activity, meaning people haven't even viewed them. So that includes no views, no updates, no comments, nothing, no reactions. So we'll do 3 months. And then to that branch, what we'll do is say, when you see these things, I want you to archive. And you can even say not to archive parent pages, because sometimes there's a certain relationship and you don't want to lose the entire tree.
Please don't.
And yeah, especially because of like restrictions and stuff like that. All of a sudden, it is, I don't know, like confidential information or sensitive information can become available. So it's like a good guardrail. But essentially, like this would be how you build that rule. And if you want to create any kind of awareness around it, you could add a supplemental action, which a lot of people do. For example, like Slack is really popular, where you could basically say, page has been archived, send a Slack message. And in the message, you can include a smart value. For example, you can search here all the smart values. So you can look for like the page title, and then you can just copy it. So in the Slack message, it could be like page title has been archived, just FYI. And then every time that happens, once the rule meets it on the scheduled time, it'll archive the page, send a Slack message, and everybody knows. And yeah, that's kind of like the end-to-end use case. And then for the archive space, that could be a little bit different. There isn't necessarily a space branch that we have today, but there is a archive space action. So if we'll just go here, Sorry, I'll go back. Let's say we add a new component just for the sake of the example. We have the spaces category. So you can archive a space. That can be based off of a scheduled trigger. That can be based off of any other kind of trigger if a certain page is published or if something is mentioned. But essentially, like creation and archival and space level permissions are different actions that are available as well.
Speaking of branches, Avi, thank you for showing this, of course. I just wanted to draw everyone's attention to the fact that y'all just announced that branch limits have increased. And to be clear, what that means is you can take more actions per branch. So it used to be a branch could take up to 150 actions. It's now at 1,000 actions, which, like, as far as like being a systems admin goes, that's a pretty significant like expansion. So like, well done, automation team. But I just wanted to quickly ask, like, what motivated this increase, and how does the team look at like expanding limits like this? Because this is, you know, I think this has pretty big implications for those teams thinking about using automation.
Yeah, for sure. This was actually, so we've kind of always known branch limits, also from a technical perspective, like these things have associated cost of running, and it's always like an interesting technical challenge to increase them, especially at services that kind of scale, like automation across Atlassian. But the primary motivation for this has been twofold. One is just kind of seeing a lot of the use cases scaling to larger and larger companies. And then the biggest push for this was back in March when we rolled out verified page status. We heard a lot of great feedback, but we also saw that a lot of people are using that based off of branches. And just to give you a little reminder, we created this template at the time to be able to take a look at inactive verified pages that are ready for review. So if a verified page becomes inactive, let the admin know and make sure it's verified. People were basically giving us very apt feedback saying, listen, like, I have tons of pages, tons of content. If this thing stops running at 150, effectively, we don't get the coverage that we need, especially as we scale with Atlassian.
Right.
So we wanted to ideally, we want to make this scale infinitely, which is a very interesting challenge. But we were looking, again, like our MO is to add as much value as quickly as we can today, as opposed to waiting for something perfect further down the line. So we wanted to make a step change. So 1,000 felt like an order of magnitude from what we do today. And it really is to unlock more and more customers to be able to use Atlassian automation at their scale.
I think it's super powerful. And like, if anyone here is like thinking about moving to like Confluence Premium or Enterprise, like, automation is the reason. I like all the new things. Obviously, I am a databases fan, but you can get that. You don't need to pay for that currently. So that, like, automation is the reason, and just like look at what you can do. Going to a question. So rather than building an automation, we had a really good question here. When will we be able to add our own smart values, like defining them using page properties, or better yet, perhaps from my perspective, from database entries? When will we be able to use those as smart values rather than the very lovely predefined group of smart values that you have?
That is a really, really good question, which admittedly I don't have an amazing answer for. But no, here's what I can say, like, in all seriousness. There's a lot of internal discussion around smart buttons. It's really flexible and powerful once you know what to do with it. And there's been a lot of effort, obviously, with like the smart values panel, which I showed you previously, to make it a lot more discoverable, like, so it's easy to learn about what they do and just use them today. Like, up till then, you had to just know what they are. So there's been this idea that internally we're playing around with, which is, could we potentially, in some form or shape, add them to directly within pages? So you kind of get the value of automations directly based on what you're doing to kind of like expand that value. We still need to look further into the concept of creating your own smart values. But there's two things which I don't think replace adding your own smart values, but you spoke about databases and other things. So there's two things that are coming. One thing is we're going to start adding. So if you go into a rule, and let's say whatever the trigger is, there is the publish page action.
I kind of wish we had a little reaction right now that would be like, Avi's dishing right now. Like, tune in. This is a sneak peek, like some kind of like gossip magazine style thing. Like, zoom in on you until it's blurry. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Idea for YouTube, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So like in this idea, right? Like, let's say I want to publish a page here. I can use smart values in the page title, which we know today, right? I can go to page. I can do something like take the page title. I can copy it. I can put it here, whatever. Like that's fine. But today, let's say I want to create a page with a template. And let's say I want to create a product requirements page. I can basically create the page with a dynamic title. I can't do anything to the body.
Yes.
So something that we're working on to add to like some of the top used templates is there will be another configuration here where you'll be able to add smart values as placeholders to pre-populate certain areas of a page using smart values. So that's like a step, somewhat of a step in that direction.
Okay.
And then using smart buttons, another thing that we're working on, which is probably a few months away, is this concept of, and I'm just like riffing for a second, but let's say if I create a database. So this is something we're working on. So when I create a database, when I add a new field, something that we're going to add is a new field that's actually called a smart button field. So you'll be able to click here. You'll see the panel for a smart button to choose your template. And then users will be able to see a drop down here. And then let's say that your row represents a page, right? Like let's say page status, you can have a smart button. You'll be able to click the smart button and it will actually perform the automation actions in context of the page on the row.
Okay, excuse me for a second. I'm drooling a bit here and I need to just go clean that up. It's becoming very unprofessional. Okay, wow. I'm not gonna, I realize that as a product manager, I can't ask you for a date on any of these things because you'll say coming soon or coming in sometime in 2024, coming before the end of the 2020s. I'll get an answer like that, but this is all kind of exciting for sure.
Yeah, everything I just talked about, like not including the adding your own smart values, but like the smart values in certain templates plus the database smart buttons should all be within the realm of either weeks or like a handful of months.
Okay. All right. Well, that calls for another live stream, I feel like. Okay. In the meantime, we have so many other things that people want to automate. So let's look at, I have a Confluence database with all project implementation settings. Is there a way to automate a report on specific project details with those project settings? I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to see your charming answer, Avi.
Yeah. So if I understand the question correctly, within a database, there's certain information and you want automation to be aware of whatever's in the database and then create some kind of output based off of that. So one of the shortcomings today with automation in databases is automation. For example, let's say you're on a page and you have a rule that, if the page status changes to X, then maybe let's say add a label, right? If you do that on a page, then automation obviously knows how to detect all the metadata around the page. One of the shortcomings and things that we have on our roadmap, again, I don't have a date, is for automation at its core to also be aware of what's happening inside the database. So today, if I'm, again, let's say I'm inside this database that I was just showing you, or I can just create a new database really quickly. If I'm inside this database and let's say I have a page URL here and then a status here, if I change the status, which actually reflects this page, automation doesn't pick up on that today.
Yeah.
So that's something that we need to incorporate. So unfortunately today, it's an automation blind spot.
What I like the philosophical question. what does happen inside a Confluence database? Does anyone truly know? One person who does hopefully truly know at this point is Christina Rostevsky, who is the product manager for databases. And I've spoken with Christina about maybe our next live stream could be similar to this one, where we do a deeper dive on Confluence databases. If anyone in the chat has interest, would you maybe just like throw some of that in the chat right now? Also, we're a little bit past halfway through here. If you would like, and I don't know how to sign subscribe, that would be helpful. This is like about the time when the YouTube algorithm's like, are these people even interesting? So like hit some like buttons there in the UI. That would be really helpful. It feeds the algorithm. I don't know how or why. That's not my job. And there is a really interesting question here for you, Avi, which is related to smart buttons, which is, can you prompt a user for input like you can with a manual automation using a smart button? That's a great question. Thank you, Howard.
That's a great question. The answer is not yet. That is on the very short-term roadmap, because in our vision, like smart buttons end up doing what manual triggers can do and so much more. They almost start to behave like automation smart links to some effect. So no, not just yet, but it's on the very short-term roadmap.
Okay, all right. I mean, I would also say like it'd be kind of cool to be able to trigger one of those even in an automated automation. Wait, automated, non-manual. I don't know how you address that. Okay.
Yeah, a non-manual trigger.
Yeah, a non-manual. Sure. Okay. We have from George, forgive me, I'm probably butchering it either way. Can we get an automation to archive all the pages, the spaces and pages that were, oh, no. We just did that one. I'm sorry. Deactivate all the users that did not, I'm sorry. All the users that did not access Confluence in the past number of months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can we do that?
For sure. So we added a new deactivated page owners branch. And actually, this is the very template, which is kind of built to support that. So this is around the use case. Again, you can create a schedule trigger. And then what the branch will do is there's no configuration. Essentially what it does is it looks to pages that are owned by deactivated accounts. Now, there's a very robust definition around what a deactivated account is. It could be somebody who doesn't work at the company, or their license has been removed for whatever reason. Like there's a multitude of reasons, but it encompasses the entire definition. And if that's the case, then you can, the primary use case is to change the page owner. So again, let's say so-and-so, John works at the company, he owns all these pages, he's the project manager, he's driving everything, and then he decides to move on to a different company. And all of a sudden he's deactivated, everything has the incorrect page owner. That could affect access as well. So the idea is to make sure that pages aren't just up to date from a content freshness perspective, but also that the right people have access to the right information based on if they're actually relevant or not.
And you never want an automation to determine if you are actually relevant or not, and you especially don't want a middle schooler to chime in on whether or not you're relevant. That is truly the worst thing that can happen to a human being. As you know, Avi, you laugh only because you don't want to cry. And I, for one, look forward to more AI-powered abilities here to decide more things around, page duplicates. That would be a really cool one to be able to say like, hey, the content on this page looks a lot like the content on these 3 other pages. That's what I'm like truly looking for. There's a lot of like, when do we think users are inactive? When do we think pages are stale? But for me, I'm like, let's start fixing our content. Let's start like healing this knowledge base that we have. And that would be such an amazing addition. So first of all, we are at 10:45 Eastern time. So, and of course for me, that means it's stroopwafel time because I'm doing a good job. I don't know if anyone in the chat is affiliated with a company that makes stroopwafels, but I am not above a brand deal. So if anybody has a connection, please drop it in the chat. This one is Honey and Oats. So if Avi and I ever did start a band, could be a good name. We have another automation request from Katie, who wants to know when a page is published, or wants to create an automation. When a page is published, copy a page template from the parent page with the open tasks from the published page.
Wow.
That okay.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good one. So let's kind of walk through this one really quickly. So
Katie, you're really making Avi nervous. I really like this. I don't know if you can tell the resolution on your side, but there's so much sweat. It's like, it's starting to be like, do I need to blur this sweat a little bit? It's too much.
Totally. So pages published, that we can do. Then copy page. So we can definitely copy page, whether it's like from the same spaces to like the same spaces trigger. We can choose the parent page. We can do all that good stuff. We can change the title, labels, restrictions. No trivial way to copy the tasks from the parent page specifically. Actually, there was an internal discussion about this yesterday with one of our content designers. The unelegant way that I proposed was, it's a little bit of a workaround. So let's say that the page that was published is based off of a certain template, and the page that you're copying, you actually want to use. Again, like you want to copy using a certain amount of information. So one of the ideas was to try and get creative using the excerpt and excerpt include macro, potentially, if you want to take a portion of the information and move it over. But I think that would be better with the page create action as opposed to copy page, because this doesn't pick out a template. So I'm not really sure if that is something we could fully support just yet, but I could definitely follow back up and talk with some smarter folks internally and see if there's a cool way to do that.
I feel like tasks are an interesting part of Confluence in that I don't, just like with dog fooding, I don't like using the term half-baked, but in the product world, I'd say maybe the minimum of the minimum viable product there. So I think we want to do more. I feel like at K15T, we're always pushing to do more with tasks, and it's kind of like, we only want to do about this much. I think it's a really interesting idea.
Yeah. The closest we could do is like, there's this type of template, which is actually pretty popular around reminding people of incomplete tasks. But yeah, that's a really interesting use case around copying it and moving it over. Like I can see why you'd want to do that for sure.
Yeah. Okay, we have a question from Josh. I'm trying to get more adoption of smart links. Any automations you can think of to help it make it easier for users? Like, can you have it convert a SharePoint link to a smart link to be used elsewhere?
Oh, interesting. Smart links in pages, not necessarily if you're trying to drive smart links usage, but something that you can do. So for those of you who haven't played around with it yet, there's this cool thing called smart link in page content tree. So I can basically, I don't know, like, let's see, I can play around with this. And then I can add a URL and I can add a smart link. And the cool thing is it will actually resolve that as a content type. Now, that means you can embed cool stuff in here, Loom, YouTube, whatever, and then it just becomes part of your content organization. So something that automation does know how to do is you can create an automation based off of a smart link and a content tree. No, I don't have any templates. But if we create an automation really quickly, we can do scheduled just for the example. And then what we could do is add an action, and we have a smart links section. So you can create a smart link, and this will be a smart link in the page tree. And once again, like you can add like which space, which parent page. You could put in the smart link title. You could type or paste the link if you want to. You can use Spark values, but then it would get added to the page tree. So this wouldn't necessarily help with usage of smart links embedded inside pages.
Okay, yeah. My humble but not so humble opinion on smart links is it would be great if you could add smart links as easily as Avi just demonstrated. You can add smart buttons with the slash command. Smart links are these cool, like almost like one-upping macros in some way, but to find them is bizarre. Honestly, you're like, I just have this URL in my clipboard. I'm just going to drop it on this page and see what happens. And like, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, it's still a link. And then sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, it's this interactive macro that I had no idea would appear when I dropped this here. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Harry Potter in like year one of spells class. It's just like, I'm not amused with smart links, Potter. That's a terrible impression. Let's go on to another question we have here from Sarah. Is there a way to build an automation to summarize the parent and all child pages, or at least all the pages with the same label? So I'm guessing we're talking using AI summary, but the parent and all the pages or child pages are all the pages with the same label.
Yeah, that's a really cool use case. I actually think that there is a stream of work for AI in general to work on that. Like, how do you summarize selected number of child pages or just like XYZ pages, and you want to get a general summary of what's happening across them? Automation doesn't support that specific use case yet, but this specific use case, which a lot of people are using, you can use either smart values. There's also like 2 actions which are native to either create an AI summary or action items. But the prevalent use case that we see people using automation for nowadays is to use the page AI summary and page AI action items to then automatically send meeting notes. So send a follow-up email with all the summary to everybody. So you don't have to, which usually takes a lot of time. Once AI supports this kind of multi-object analysis, or even like a space-wide analysis, or even like a site-wide analysis, go figure, then we will be very bullish about following up and supporting that the same level.
Oh, I can't wait. That sounds so fantastic. Okay, we only have a couple of minutes, so that's why I'm starting to talk with a higher pitch. The caffeine could also be kicking in. I've eaten my entire stroopwafel, so now I'm getting desperate. We've got to automate all the things. Stephanie wants to know, can you create an automation, or maybe I should just say, will you at this point, because obviously you can, to archive the personal spaces from deactivated users?
Ooh, wow, that's a good one.
Which is a great question from an admin, right? That is a good cleanup task that you might have to do.
Yeah, that's actually a question that came up internally. So you can, again, we can create an automation to, let's take a look if we can archive the spaces for everybody. So if we do scheduled, and then we'll add our branch for deactivated users, and then we want to take an action on spaces. So we can archive space. The only thing we would need to validate is, I'm assuming that by virtue of whoever the deactivated account is, it would probably delete their space. That's the only thing I would need to do a double verify on my end. But generally, like, this rule seems pretty logical.
Right. And of course, you need to make sure that you don't have more than 1,000 deactivated users hit the system in one day. I'd like to say that would be an impossibility, but with the way the market is, could happen. I hope it doesn't. I hope we don't hit that limit for that reason. That would be the worst. But we're not here to talk about economics, because that's about as much as I can say. Let's see. Those are all the current automation requests. Another question from Sarah? Will you be building the new summarize changes function into automation? I think that is the Confluence catch-up summary feature. Not to be confused with the sauce catch-up.
Yeah, I think that's a great use case, and very similarly in line with what we've done with page summary and action items. The more that the Confluence AI team at large adds more use cases, like the previous one that was mentioned about like looking at a page tree or looking at a catch-up, or like even changes between versions, things like that, then yeah, like we're extremely keen, because if there's one thing that we keep on seeing and learning more from customers and just the market in general, is people are expecting AI and automation to work together, where one is pretty deterministic and like controlled, being automation. The other one has like potential for unknown unknowns, a little bit fuzzier, but they complement each other really well. So that's a long way of saying yes, we'll probably integrate that.
All right. People really do want that. I mean, at some point, we all expect that AI and automation will replace us, right? It's just sort of a matter of time. That's what we're all hoping for you, from you anyway, Avi.
Big dreams.
Really great question from Priyanka. I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. I probably am. I should put $1 in the jar every time I do that. Can we move a page from one space to another on a scheduled time? That sounds like page publishing, which is something that one of our K15T apps do, but can we do that with automation instead?
Yeah, if you create a global rule. So if you're working automation, let me open my test instance real quick, because in Atlassian, I'm not a global admin. But you can see here, if you go to global administration, that's where you can create, essentially this is where already like you can see the left nav is different. So for product admins, this is where you can see mission control, automation. This is at a multi-space level. So that's where you can create rules like this. What I've been showing you till now is a space level, like within the space only.
Okay. All right. Simple answer, yes. Yeah, and system-wide automations or site-wide automations are super, super powerful. Oh my gosh, we're almost out of time. Is it possible to create a rule that notifies everyone mentioned on a page in Slack? When I tried to create this rule, I could only configure one person mentioned per rule. Oh, that would be nice to be able to map users from Confluence to Slack or Confluence to Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, so there's actually like a suggestion ticket that I think I updated a couple days ago, where there's that question about like mentioning both users, but then also mentioning a group. So the support that we're adding in the short term is for mentioning users, and then down the line we need to separately add support for mentioning groups. So you can today, but that's actually in the works.
Yeah, I think the ability to map Confluence users to Slack users to say like Matt, Avi, and Stefan should be notified and mentioned in Slack. I almost feel like that needs to be part of user, like connecting those needs to be part of user, like the user management part of the platform versus automation. Because I feel like that would be useful in a lot of ways. Like, hey, I do a inline comment and I can check a box to say also notify them in Slack or something to that extent. I don't know. It could go both ways. We can't ask you to plug all the holes, Avi, just like most of them.
Can try.
All right, y'all. I would love to keep talking about automation, but space and time are telling me I can't, which is a bummer. Avi, thank you so much for joining us, like automating some stuff, talking about the future a little bit, talking about what we can do right now, talking a little bit about where we're going with AI and automation. Is super exciting stuff. It seems like maybe we might be back next month to do something similar around databases, which would be super fun. But please like and subscribe. Send this to other colleagues who are trying to automate stuff, because we're all on this automation journey. Also, every time there is Confluence news, we create a new short on our YouTube channel that covers that news. Most of that news, as it turns out, is about automation, because Avi and the team will not stop. They can't stop, won't stop. They continue to automate stuff. So please follow along. That would be great. Yes, and you can find links in the description to this video. So thank you so much for joining us, Avi. Have a great rest of your day. And thanks everybody else for joining us as we continue to explore how to use Confluence to share what you do best. Bye.